From the stars came the will to shape fate, hurling this world toward ruin. This burden is mine to bear. To offer guidance where it is most needed. To demand sacrifice. Sentinel of the great Bastion! Supreme Matriarch of Nangao. Master of the Storm Winds. Daughter of the Dragon Emperor.
Of course, the Dawn of Cathay trailer has just dropped and it's given us our first insights into this legendary kingdom and of course their demonic adversaries, Siege. If you want to see my initial reaction to this trailer, I'm going to pop it in at the end, so if you want to see that, then go check it out. But if not, let's just get straight into the breakdown because there is so much to cover. So the trailer opens up with this spooky looking lady, and this is Miao Ying, or the Storm Dragon, who is one of our Cathayan legendary lords, as confirmed by the accompanying blog post. According to this, and I'm going to have to apologise for my pronunciation, our other legendary lord is Zhao Ming, or the Iron Dragon, and we'll apparently be finding out more about him next week. Unfortunately, as Cathay is literally being written by CA and Games Workshop at the moment, there really isn't that much information out there that I could find on these guys, so a lot of this is just going to be my speculation from the trailer and the blog. Now, these two legendary lords can transform into dragons, and are referred to as immortal dragons who can take human form, which we'll see later in the trailer, and of course makes them into terrifying combatants, sorceresses, and fearless leaders, because if a big-ass dragon tells you to do something, chances are you're probably going to do it. Now, they are not the Dragon Emperor or the Moon Empress, don't get that confused, because those two characters are basically deities. So think of it like Korn is sending Skarsbrand to do his work. So the Dragon Emperor and the Moon Empress are sending Miao and Zhao to do their work. We then see what Miao is looking at, and it's most likely the Great Bastion, which is a huge walled fortress that defends the Cathayan lands from the north, originally to keep the Hung tribes out, but now probably serves just as well to keep out chaos. In this shot, it looks to be somewhat aflame, so this shot could either be from later on in the sequence of events we see in the trailer, or the Bastion we see later could be a totally different one, or part of the same wall, since it was said to be miles and miles long. This could be another Gates of Ulthuan situation, where there's a lot of forts that are technically a very similar settlement, but just at different points along the same wall. Now, next shot, it's daytime, and we see a huge, and I mean huge, settlement-looking place. And I'm just praying that this is playable in-game, and that the average PC can actually run it without turning into a toaster. We see soldiers marching over bridges, going over a trench that also looks to have soldiers in it, and this stretches pretty much as far back as the eye can see. Now, one thing to note here is that even though this is so much larger, it still looks like it's got its back against a wall. So I don't know if this is going to be one of those one-directional sieges, but I really hope that that's not the only type of siege we're going to see in Warhammer 3, and we're going to get some more four-walled action going on. Among all of this, we also see a ton of towers of various sizes, so I don't know if these are defensive or just decorative, but hopefully we see something in the system in Warhammer 2, where they're just firing a single cone. It's fairly easy to avoid. We also get our first real glimpses of some Cathayan ride units, which look to be riding red horses with yellow wings, but from this distance it's fairly hard to tell. After this, there is a bunch of shots showcasing new Cathayan units. We see these heavily armoured halberd units with no shields, marching alongside these lads carrying some rifles. We see huge cannons being pulled by bulls, which look horribly exposed, unlike the armoured bears of Kislev. We get this shot looking up at the sentinels that are later shown to come to life in times of need, so I'd guess that they are recruitable, as well as possibly being an ability that Cathay can use in sieges to summon these guys to fight and defend for them. We get a tiny glance at a single archer, so they will probably have a mix of both arced and straight firing troops, which is great for variety. And we also see 3 types of melee infantry walking. Now on the right we have the same we saw earlier with the heavy armour and halberds. In the middle they look to be less armoured spear or halberd units, but they bring shields. And on the far left, we have another spears unit, but they look to have very little armor, so this could be an early game unit or perhaps something sneaky like the Eshin Triads. They are being led by a regal looking chap with a sword, who I would guess from the outfit is more of a noble type hero unit, for espionage use on the campaign map, as well as some very light battle usage like duels. Looking out over the city, we see more of those riders going by, and from here it looks like they could be dragon riders, which is way cooler than horses. Again, we see these airships with long guns coming from the basket, along with a huge main cannon on the front, with multiple missiles ready to fire. We see some people carrying what look to be long rifles around, which line up with the promo images which we have. We also see 2 lone women shaking hands, which we can guess mean these are either lords or heroes. I would guess that the masked lady is a mage, since we see her doing some possibly magical things later, and that would make the other one possibly a generic lord or fighting hero, or just a random soldier that's meant to add some drama. We then cut to a shot looking up at the aerial battle taking place, with the riders and airships of Cathay facing off against the forces of Tzeentch. I can't quite make out what's flying on the Tzeentch side, but they are flying and firing projectiles as they advance. This could be the game's version of Screamers, which are flying demons of Tzeentch, but we don't really get a good enough look to tell. In the next shot, we get a bit of a closer look, and I would say the winged Tzeentch demons are the Furies, with the wingless ones being Screamers, just based on looks alone. We see those cannons we spotted before firing volleys from what looks to be a raised platform in the settlement, so these are clearly more of a hellstorm than a single shot cannon. We see they're firing at riders on board the discs of Tzeentch, which, as silly as they look, are likely powerful warriors or casters, as these discs do not bow to the will of any old warrior. In this shot, we also for sure see Screamers flying all around these lads, so it's nice to see that. We see a bit more of the air battle in progress as the gunners fire in all directions, and the main cannons of the airships loose volleys at the demonic hordes, but bad news on the horizon, as we see a 2-headed Lord of Change, possibly Kairos due to the double head and the buckstaff. I believe he was blind, so I can't be sure. Then Warhammer blindness is really more like having a mustache than having something that, stops you from seeing and slows you down in battle. The Lord of Change looses a powerful magical volley that takes out several airships in one cast, which is pretty damn scary, and our mage looks on in horror as our thought to be Lord or hero falls to the ground flame. No time to mourn as the ground assault immediately begins, with what I would guess are blue and pink horrors, which are lesser demons charging towards Cathayan lines. We also see some Forsaken type creatures, as well as Chaos Spawn of Tzeentch among these lines, which are of course versions of units we've seen before in previous games and trailers. The Sentinels finally awaken and prepare for the assault as the cannons and grenadiers loose volleys into the lines, explosively blowing them to pieces. On the shot of the demons charging, we get a glimpse of the flamers in the top left, which are terrifying demons capable of conjuring demonic fire into battles. We then see the masked hero launching a potion into combat, and it seems to create these ribbons that push away the enemies and seem to pack quite a punch. In the blog post it mentions alchemist, so that could very well be what we're seeing here. The Lord of Change then casts a pink fire across the Cathay lines that seems to wipe out everything it touches, even the Sentinels. Meow looks on from above when we get a view of what could be our reworked siege map. Even if it only has one wall, this is a huge improvement as it looks to be massive with many paths going through your cities for you to defend. She then dives from her roost and is consumed by lightning and transforms into her dragon form to roar into the face of the Tzeentch troops and rally her forces, and the trailer ends there. She also has some speech over the course of this trailer, so she says, "From the stars came the will to shape fate, hurling this world towards ruin. The burden is mine to bear, to offer guidance where it is most needed, to demand sacrifice, for I am the ruler of the northern provinces, sentinel of the great Bastion, supreme patriarch of the Nangao, master of the storm winds, daughter of the dragon emperor." So basically the Tzeentch demons seem to have come from the stars, as we can see from those portals in the sky in many of the shots, and are of course trying to bring ruin to the world, because what else is Chaos really trying to do? She's identifying herself as the leader of the faction and the one to make all of the decisions, and her faction is to the north, so defending that great Bastion as I mentioned earlier. Finally, she shows her true form as the master of the storm winds and as a storm dragon, and as a direct relative to the dragon emperor, so she's basically the offspring of a god, which is some pretty heavy stuff. There are a couple of things in the blog post which basically just tells us their general playstyle. They are a more defensive-based faction, as we could probably guess from all that gunpowder and all those ranged units, and they pack a serious punch when defending that Great Bastion. They're also said to use yin and yang, which I don't know if this is going to be a battle mechanic where if one type of unit is doing really well or one part of the campaign is going really well, then your battle also gets buffed. So we're going to have to wait and see how that exactly works. But nevertheless, it sounds like they have some actual interesting mechanics rather than just being a very straightforward and a basic faction. We've also got a couple of battle images with this. First one is a beautiful landscape shot showing us the beautiful lands of Cathay with all those mountains and floating islands. It really gives me a James Cameron's Avatar aesthetic, if you ask me. Next one shows off a battle, and as we can see, we have the blue horrors on the right with the pink horrors slightly behind them, the blue chaos spawn of Siege charging against them, and in the sky what I would guess are chaos furies of Siege. On the Cathayan side, we of course have the Sentinels and a bunch of the frontline units, both the shielded and the unshielded. We also have the Riders in the Sky, which are now pretty much confirmed to be riding some form of dragon-horse hybrid with those scales, but more of the traditional shape of a horse. We of course see one of the airships in the background, and some snipers holding rifles, which look very similar to Warblock Giselles from the Skaven, so I'll be very excited to see how they work. And there's also this giant green thing, which I honestly have no idea what it is. It could be a tactical nuke, it could just be a mobile buffing platform, but nevertheless, it looks very heavy, and I'm very excited to find out what it is. We get a shot of our Dragon Lady in the daytime, and she is just tearing to pieces some Chaos Furies with her beautiful fire breath. And finally, we have one more shot of the dragon in action. She looks to be taking on some Chaos Warriors and some Forsaken there, blasting them into the air with her attacks, and undoubtedly causing a lot of pain in the process. We also see in the foreground some Cathayan troops using swords instead of spears, so we can imagine that these are going to be a variant of these spears that we saw earlier with the same colour scheme and shields. And that's about it, but don't be upset because as the blog does say, we'll be expecting more news next week, so if you want to check that out, then be sure to subscribe to the channel because I'll be breaking every single thing down that I can. And there we go, that is everything that I could find in this trailer, blog post, promotional images, every single thing that I've got. If I missed anything, then do be sure to leave it down in the comments below. I'd love to hear it. This is a very exciting time. Yes, the delay is very sad, but we're getting lots of news, so you know. And if you want to see my initial reaction upon watching this trailer, then I'll play it for you now.
From the stars came the will to shape fate.
That was fucking sick.
This world
That was like a big boy siege. Please don't tell me it's just a big old set piece at the back that we can't interact with, or I'm gonna cry. Oh my god, that is a proper fucking siege, boys. And that's some big boy halberdiers with some riflemen with some flying stuff. And that's a big piece of artillery being towed by a bull. And that's them big old statues from Harry Potter. There's like halberdier and spear infantry there. They riding dragons? They don't look like horses. And airships with blow darts on them, it looks like.
This burden is
like that.
To bear.
I don't know who these people are, I'm sorry.
Guidance where it is most
Damn, this kingdom looks sick. It's like all on the floating islands like it's an Avatar or something.
To demand
I'm loving this aesthetic.
sacrifice.
Oh my god, there's so much here. Or is they're flying, we're obviously against Siege Chicks, it's Cathay. They're like on some floating hoverboards, what the hell? Oh, they're not blowing some massive guns. That does make sense. And they've got huge cannons on the front. Okay. Even cooler. And that looks like... Oh, what's it called from... That's one of the greater demons of Siege. And he can fly. Oh boy. That's not good. Those are like some big old blunderbusters they've got rather than like actual rifles. That's Chaos Spawn at the back there.
I am ruler of the northern provinces.
Ugh, those guys are gross. I told you.
Of the great
I told you, man. It's the big statues from Harry Potter. Oh, and some beautiful Hellstorm rocket battery things and their grenade launchers. Okay, not blunderbusters. Good to know. Spear infantry forming up against God knows what they are. Oh, hell yeah. What's this for? What the hell kind of lore of magic is that? I didn't see the second head earlier, I'm not going to lie. That is some devastating magic, which I would expect from Siege. God, that is a big boy Siege map. That's what we want, boys. Oh, what's she going to do? If I know anything about Cathay, so they love dragons, and she's going to do it, isn't she? She's going to come on, do it.
of the Dragon Emperor.
Fuck yes. That is very loud, but also very cool. Oh, and that's some beautiful art. Okay, goodbye. There we go. Very exciting. Now that's done with. Thank you very much for watching this video. If you did enjoy at any point, then please do consider leaving it a like. It really does help out a lot. As I said, leave a comment down below with anything that I missed or anything about this Cathay trailer that really excites you. Let me know. I'd love to hear it. If you want to see more content like this on Warhammer 3 news, Warhammer 2, other strategy games, then definitely be sure to subscribe to the channel because I put out new videos every single week. I'd like to take this time to thank all supporters of the channel, in particular Kobe Said So, Nature Boy LC, for their wonderful support at the Unclean Ones tier. Really can't thank you guys enough. One more time, thank you all so very much for watching, and for now, I've been COLONELDAMNEDERS, and I will see you next turn.